Hello there, people of the internet. So I bought the cheapest possible sights that I could find for my AR on eBay, and I wanted to find sights, specifically metal sights. I wanted some sort of metallic sight. I did not want to deal with any sort of plastic sight. I wanted to get the cheapest metal sight that I possibly could. So I picked up this box with two sights in it. And I swear, I will even put up a photo. They said that these were 75 aluminum front and rear sights for a Picatinny rail that I could throw onto my AR. First off, any YouTube reviewers, the magazines used in this video are all below 20 rounds. Well, they're 20 round capacity, all below 30 rounds. And the firearms used are semi-automatic, so no machine guns here. But while I was browsing for sights, I was going to pick up, some actual sights, and I just so happened to come across this, and I picked these up for $16. It's a $16 front and rear sights, $16 for both of them, 70/75 aluminum, and I was like, there's just no way. There's no way. I gotta check these things out. So I ordered them in, they came in, they're in this box. This is the box that they came in. Somebody stuffed a fistful of this box into my mailbox, and I had no idea what it was. And lo and behold, it is the sights that I had ordered off of eBay. Now, we have this little foam package in here that I'm assuming the sights were supposed to be stuffed in. It kind of looks like this, but this was like crumbled up into a ball and stuffed inside. And that was how it came. Alright, now, these are not aluminum sights. Flat out gonna say that. Right off the bat, these are polymer sights, plastic sights. The site that I ordered these from, the eBay site, said full on that they were 70/75 aluminum, and I was like, there's no way. There is no piece on this site that is aluminum. There's a steel bolt and nut, and that is it. The rest is plastic with a fiber optic. Now, they are flip sights, although they are very sticky flip sights. I want to go ahead and show this off real quick. Alright, so the front sight is adjustable for elevation, but our front sight is so stupidly loose in this thing. I do hope that you guys can see how this front sight is just moving back and forth. We have probably about a millimeter of play in this front sight. There's a 0% chance that you're going to be able to zero this thing. However, if I bring the elevation all the way down, or in this case, since I'm going all the way up, we'll go in that direction too. If you bring the elevation all the way up to where it bottoms itself out, it is still quite loose, but it's a little bit more taut, and it is much more firm. So you can go all the way up in elevation, or you can go all the way down. And whenever your elevation is all the way down, the bottom of the front post actually rests on the spring that is used to flip the sight up and down, and that is what holds the sight taut in place. So there's no real good way to elevate this thing, because elevation is either 100% elevated or all the way down. There is literally no in between with this thing. If you go anywhere in the middle, you have left and right play, like a millimeter of left and right play with this thing. There's a 0% chance that you'll be able to actually zero this thing. Every time you fire this, like, I can move it around with my fingernail. That sight's gonna be bouncing around every time you fire this. So you either have full elevation or zero elevation. There's no in between. I'm probably gonna go with zero elevation, and we're just gonna see where these fucking rounds go. Alright, now our rear sight, just as sticky to flip up. We do have two little fiber optics on it. If these were actually, half decent stable sights, then they'd actually be half decent sights. So turning the windage adjustment knob on this thing is painfully difficult. It literally hurts to have to apply the amount of pressure necessary to move this sight back and forth. And even then, I cannot tell if it's moving or not. There's little, what would I call these? Windage adjustment notches back here that you can use to measure your windage adjustment, but there's no reference point on the rear sight itself. So I guess that you could take a nail and scratch one in, or a marker or something, so you know the exact center of your rear sight, so you can kind of line that up with these millimeter fat adjustments back here. But besides that, there's no real good way to test the windage on this thing without burning through a bunch of ammo. I also want to point out that our rear sight, like our front sight, has probably about 1 millimeter of play in it, so you're not going to be able to zero this very easily. God damn, I should have brought a pair of pliers to adjust this thing. My God, I'm trying to get it as centered as I can here. This is one of those situations where, like, as you turn the thing, there's a little clicker in there, and the sight will like go way past the point and then click back into place, and then way past the point and then click back into place. But because it's so hard to move, I can't hear the clicker very well and I can't feel it. So I'm just kind of like winging it with this thing. And I think that I got it fairly well centered. At least well enough to be able to miss my target because my front sight has an elevation of 0. Okay, so again, YouTube reviewer, 20 round magazine. I've only got 5 rounds loaded in it though. I'm going to go ahead and waste the first round here by aiming for the center of the steel, and we're just gonna see if we even hit the damn thing. I'm expecting, because the elevation on the front side is as low as it possibly can go, we're probably not gonna hit it. Okay, all right, just going for the center of the steel here. Oh, I'll be damned. No fucking way. That's a little bit to the right. Let me adjust this here. All right, let's send us another round. Oh, jeez. Okay, one more for good measure here. All right. Okay, so, hitting a little bit on the right, so I adjusted the rear sight. A little bit of windage going left. But that front sight, bottom out elevation, we're hitting center steel. So we're hitting right where this thing is supposed to be hitting here. All right, last couple of rounds, I just kind of haphazardly pulled the trigger. Elevation is good. Like I said, we are hitting a little bit right. I gotta adjust that rear sight just a little bit more. We were, oh God, I'm falling here. We were hitting right here, now we're hitting closer to around there. So windage a little bit more, just a hair. But these sights, I'm impressed. Well, I wouldn't say impressed, I'm more like surprised that bottomed out elevation on that front sight is manageable. Okay, so I got them zeroed in for the 40 yards that we were at, but I figure let's go ahead and take it out to 100 yards, why not? Let's go ahead and see where these are hitting out at this distance. I got 10 rounds loaded up. You guys are not gonna be able to see the target downrange. I don't have camera B set up. That's it, that's my only explanation. I simply did not feel like going through the trouble necessary to set up camera B. Oh boy, well let's see how well this flashlight stays in place whenever it's got recoil smacking up against it. I hope that I don't get hit too hard by any brass that flies onto this thing. Alright, the brass did not hit me. That's a really good sign. Well, it sure sounds like we hit all of our targets. And that flashlight is still standing on there strong. Very nice, that's a quality flashlight. And the flashlight there to absorb the recoil of firing the rifle really made it pleasurable to shoot and very easy to keep on target. I don't think that this flashlight was designed to be used as a recoil buffer, but hey, that's what I'm using it for. Alright, this right here might be the best grouping I've ever had with iron sights at 100 yards. That fiber optic really helps. I had a couple of flyers obviously, but for the most part we're stacked pretty much in the center. So yeah, these things seem to be hitting right where I'm wanting them to hit. I had a couple of times where the flashlight was kind of getting caught in the tree and that did throw my aim a little bit off. The elevation is a little bit on the high side out at that distance. I was actually aiming for more towards the bottom and we were hitting more towards the top. So take that for what you will. I literally cannot lower the elevation any farther than it actually is, but you're talking, what, 3 inches high at 100 yards? That's really not bad, and that's not terrible for a an AR-15. All right, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all 10 rounds on target, other than the flyers that went flying all over the place. That's not bad. I'm actually quite impressed with the capabilities of these sights. Now, whenever you get these sights, there's no guarantee that bottoming out the elevation will work on your AR. It just so happens that it seems to line up pretty damn well with mine. So bear that in mind if you decide to go ahead and pick up these sights. Okay, well, final conclusions with these sights. Right now, they're running about 11 bucks on eBay. Whenever I picked them up, they were like 16. I picked them up like a month ago at the time of recording this, probably like 3 months ago by the time this video actually makes it up onto the internet. So, yeah, I'm impressed with the capabilities of these sights, but I also got very lucky. These sights just so happen to line up with my AR at completely bottom out windage. If it was required for me to have the windage like raised or lowered, I could not go any lower, and unless I raised it 100% all of the way, the front sight would be so loose and jiggly, there'd be no way that you were hitting your target at all. So, again, thank you, Kevin. We finally heard Kevin again. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, people have been asking about Kevin. Kevin's fine. He's just super quiet whenever it's cold, and it's been cold for a long time. So now that we start getting some summer, we're going to have to start dealing with Kevin screaming in the background again. But after being dealt the lucky card with these sights right here, and I will acknowledge just how lucky it is that the one spot where you have to have the front sight elevation to keep it stable is the one spot necessary for me to have a decent impact on target, especially out at 100 yards. Me being blind, the black sights on most of your rifles, like, they're just, they blur. They blur really, they blur quite a bit. Just because, like, everything with poor eyesight tends to blur. People out there with poor eyesight will know exactly what I'm talking about. Whenever you have like black on black sights, they blur really badly. But the front sight is a fiber optic front sight, and it's got a big red dot on it, and it makes seeing my target downrange actually quite a lot easier. And I was able to stack rounds on target quite a deal easier than I am with just straight black sights. So, not necessarily these sights, but just fiber optic sights in general. That might be something for me to look into in the future for all of my equipment. That would definitely make quite the difference from what I am noticing. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, for like $11, you could, get yourself some of these and see if they line up with your AR, if you decide to go ahead and throw it on an AR platform. Basically any sort of top Picatinny rail mount will work with these things. If they don't line up, if they don't line up properly when the windage on the front side is bottomed out and you have to have it at some midpoint in between, you could always like JB weld the front sight in place so it doesn't wiggle around. That might help, but at that point, you're spending like, what, $7 on a tube for JB Weld? You're better off spending like $25 on a different front sight that doesn't need to be JB welded in order to function properly. And at that point, you're probably going to get a half-decent front sight. Well, front sight and rear sight, just sights in general. I am not pleased with the sights, but I am pleased with the outcome. I was not expecting to be able to hit targets with the elevation on the front sight literally as far bottomed out as it possibly will go, because that's the only way that those sights are going to be any sort of stable. Alright, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I do appreciate your time. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are down below. I don't have anything else to add to this. As far as I'm concerned, if your sights are functional and they're putting rounds downrange on target, then hey, you should be good to go. The issue is these sights, unless they are like in a very specific configuration, are not functional. So bear that in mind. And they are plastic. It says aluminum on the ad, but they are plastic, so bear that in mind as well. I took my knife and I scraped away the outer material on them just to see if there was any aluminum underneath, and maybe it was some sort of, like, I don't know, polymer finish that they had on it. I don't know. Ad said aluminum, 70-75 aluminum. So I was just curious, but no, they are indeed polymer all the way through, and there's nothing that I can do about that. They're $16, 2 sights for $16. So bear that in mind. Although it says aluminum, you might get yourself some plastic ones. All right, folks, I have a couple of other videos I want to make, and I am short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and call this the end of this video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of different things. Now I get to carry all my stuff back inside. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. Wow, that wind feels really good. Thanks for watching, guys.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.